Before we get everybody out of here, especially y'all, if you don't mind, if you let me flow through it and write down any question you have, make it flow a lot smoother. I'm sorry, are you okay with the last? Oh, I'm good.
That's been doing that for 8 years now. We'll probably have to change that.
What I want to talk to you about is, for the year and a half I've been in office, I think we've probably replaced about 120 employees, so we've got a quite huge problem with retention, and most of that's in the jail. And what we've done several studies to see what the issues are, and so I want to talk to you about the staffing, the salaries, and employee retention. And just the impact of the Smith County Sheriff's Office staffing levels, and I promise I'm not going to read this whole thing to you, but I'm going to, the first couple slides will get started. The Sheriff's Office employees are oftentimes required to work with less than 2 days off per week and periodically give up vacation time. This is necessary due to being understaffed and unable to accommodate those days off. The Smith County Sheriff's Office is a 24-hour-per-day, 7-day-per-week law enforcement agency. We're required to have personnel on duty 24/7 to include all holidays, weekends, and bad weather days. As of the preparation time of this document, the Smith County Sheriff's Office has examined over 1,200 job applicants for employees and hired approximately 100 of those applicants. The standards have been raised for the employment at the Smith County Sheriff's Office, which is why we've interviewed so many and just hired 100. A direct result of that, though, is the fact that since I took office on January 1st of 2013, which is a year and a half to today, there's not been one lawsuit against the Smith County Sheriff's Office. However, we cannot continue to operate at the current staffing levels, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to furnish you all a copy of this PowerPoint to take with you, and just ask you to read it as you get an opportunity. The Sheriff's Office is experiencing costly turnover of personnel manifested by additional training and startup costs. Exit interviews we started shortly after January 1st, 2013, and they indicate the following reasons for leaving. The consensus of exit interviews conducted, non-competitive law enforcement pay, the 1.25 to 1 retirement matching, benefits, family insurance too costly. I think it's around, for a family, just under $800. Losing vacation time, not able to take compensatory time due to understaffing in the jail, losing days off due to understaffing, and that's mostly in the jail, raises approved over a 3-year period with second and third stages not implemented, and the hiring and retention enhancements, what I'm asking for is for you to consider allowing me the ability to hire the level commensurate to experience and competency level. In other words, well, I think I'll go into that in just a minute on the next slide. Paying for college degrees upon employment without waiting 1 year to get paid for that degree. Paying down compensatory time upon reaching 240, we've already talked about that. Bringing the salaries in line with other sheriff's offices of proportional size to Smith County, and bringing the retirement matching incrementally, maybe over the next couple of years, try to get it back to 2 to 1. And proper staffing of patrol, the CIT, the Crisis Intervention Team, which deals with the mental patients, and communications and detention. The ability to hire at the level commensurate to competency, and I'll give an example here. A patrol deputy with 10 years experience from Dallas Police Department, this is a real life deal, this actually happened, who displays proficiency should be available for me to hire at a Deputy 2 or Deputy 3 level, and he shouldn't be required to start at the same level we start a brand new rookie deputy off the street. Experience level we would determine that by written testing, oral interview assessments, as well as field training officer assessment. Number 3, it's our understanding from Smith County Human Resources that this is already available to the DA's office and auditor's office, and may have been an oversight when y'all took it up. It probably some other commissioners before some of you, and leaving the sheriff's office out of that. Paying a stipend for college degrees. College degree is beneficial to me, the employer, the first day they start work. It doesn't necessarily kick in 365 days later. Paying down the compensatory time, we've talked about that enough already. In the past years, employees have been required to take compensatory time rather than taking their vacation time and causing them to lose their vacation time. The salaries lag that we have is a direct result from both not being able to hire and not being able to retain employees. Compensatory time is currently the only option which allows us to maintain full staffing level. It's therefore logical to utilize the salaries lag funds to make up for some of this deficiency. The amount of work completed has not changed. We're simply required to adapt and accomplish that work with fewer employees, thus having to issue the compensatory time. And what I did is I added all parts of the sheriff's office up, so this 9,829 compensatory time hours is the jail, the patrol, CID, and everybody. And this was last year, I believe, we returned back to the general fund out of salaries and benefits. We returned back to the general fund $884,574. And we could have paid off all of the comp time that we have on the books for $175,785 plus benefits. I want to add that, and the benefits aren't added into that. And could have still turned back $708,000, but we would have zeroed out the obligation that the county would have at some point of paying that off. And I do have a detail by division that's available. This is just a quick overview of in FY 2013, we interviewed 980 applicants, we hired 91. We've, up to through March 31st of this year, we interviewed 262, we hired 9, but 34 more were in the process and had probably already been hired. The study that we did of 11 law enforcement agencies, not only law enforcement agencies, but sheriff's offices, whose average population is 169,425, we took the entry-level salaries and we took the top salaries and averaged them out. You can see we had two counties a little bit larger than Smith County, and Brazos County is real close. But without going through each one of them individually, detention pay, starting salary for our detention, averaged out of those 11, we're 4,413 below the average of 11. Patrol pay, we're 3,329 below the 11. Criminal Investigation Division, which most agencies pay detectives more than they pay patrol. That's considered in most agencies a advancement. CID was below $11,991 starting pay, and communications, even though we got a raise for communications, I think in 2010, they're still below starting pay $5,064 a year. The 11 counties had an average of 169,425, and most of those counties were 2-to-1 matching ratio for their retirement. Many of them were 2.5, not many of them, but a few were 2.5, and some were 3-to-1, which I'm not saying that we could even come close to. I'm not advocating that at all. One comparison to our detectives, which really, when you look at the job descriptions, there's really not that close of a comparison. But the DA's investigator, which we've lost 3 detectives, 3 good detectives since January, right around the end of December, end of December 2012 or January 2013, we've lost 3 detectives to the DA's office, who hires them in at a starting pay of $48,174, yet the starting pay for our detectives is $37,796. That's a $10,000 difference. That's tough pill to swallow when you spend all your time training these detectives, only to lose them to another agency, especially one in your own county. And this slide, by no means am I saying we can ever catch up with Tyler Police Department. I'm not advocating that at all, because historically, everywhere I've been throughout the nation, sheriff's offices are always behind police departments. That's just a fact that we have to accept. But just some differences in, they offer a cleaning allowance $600 a year. As you can see, we don't offer any. And these are just ideas. I'm not saying we need to go to this. I'm just throwing out some things that I think would help us attract employees and help us retain employees. And I'm not going to sit there and read it to you. Y'all can read it later. What ideally, what I would like to see happen, and what I think these men and women out here in the audience would like to see happen, is the difference in the pay, the 9, the 32, 15, and 17% is directly related to the study we did of 11 counties averaging 169,000 population. I think the best thing, and I know y'all have a hard job to do, I know I wouldn't want it, but I assure you, you wouldn't want mine either. But over a 2-year period, if you give raises 2 years in a row at 7%, that'll get us up to the 11 other county average. Or 3-year would be 5% for patrol, and then it's laid out there for CID and detention and dispatch. But my fear is, it's not a fear, it's a reality, because I've already seen it over the past year and a half. Even when we get ready to start hiring for this new jail, we're losing them out the backside as quick as they're coming in the front side. We got to get a tourniquet on this wound. Vacation hours lost in 2012 and 2013. I'm not going to read all the numbers to you, but you can just see them there. I know it happens, but there's no time that the work that these men and women do should ever have to lose 1 hour vacation time. Here's another one. Detention officer for Smith County starts at $29,363, and we have it road and bridge. And I'm not just casting any stones at anybody here from road and bridge. I'm just saying you have to put yourself in my shoes and see what I have to deal with. We've lost 3 in a 6-month period from the jail that we've already trained to oversee inmates that are inside the jail that are very much more difficult to deal with than the trustee supervisor deals with, because they make $32,531 starting pay, or 11% difference. And don't think that many of these men and women out here don't see that. I was definitely not going to read all this to you, but this is just the duties of a basic detention officer with a starting salary of $29,363. I'm going to switch over to communications, and what I want to do is to justify to you the need for hiring some more dispatchers. When I came into office, I think y'all had a pilot program on trying overtime, I think, for $25,000 or $30,000 or something. Y'all re-upped it one time. But that is not because anything other than not being able at that time to keep dispatchers. We're doing a little bit better on it now, but still we have some times that people have to pull double duty. I'm just going to go to this slide here. In a 6-month period, the number of calls dispatched and traffic stops that came through the 911 center dispatch is 30,078 calls. And the reason I want to point that out, the 30,078, is just before I took office, I think about 4 months before, we take on the dispatch duties of White House PD, who had 5 dispatchers, and there's a number of 30,000 that somebody figured out, that's what we'll charge them. They got rid of 5 dispatchers and paid us $30,000 to take over every one of those duties, yet we don't get 1 extra dispatcher to take that workflow. Not 1. We're busting at the seams in dispatch. This is contract, this is money revenue that comes in from the ESD 1 to City of Troop, Winona, Bullard, and White House, so $167,517. Just that money alone that goes back to the general fund would be enough to go ahead and hire the extra ones that I'm after, not the extra ones, but the additional ones that we need in dispatch. And this is where I'm asking for 1 telecommunications training coordinator. The reason